with Arnold Dean. Hot talk, great guests. Weeknights at 6:15 from WTIC, Hartford.
BBC Radio, Canada's public broadcast.
Try Carter's Little Liver Pill. Good advice.
Good mornings only on KCMO Kansas City. It's 8 o'clock.
When you're tuned to CDS Radio.
This is the DX Central from the Static Podcast.
From Studio B of the North Shore Studios in Mandeville, Louisiana.
And welcome to episode 2 of our From the Static podcast here at DX Central. I'm your host, Lloyd Van Horn. Here now in Studio B. I was just down the hall in Studio A, where we wrapped up our live stream, our season premiere of Season 6 of DX Central Live. And you can catch us every Friday night, actually, on our YouTube channel. And 23:45 UTC, 18:45 Central Time, we go live with DX Central Live. A lot in this episode tonight. We had live DX, quite a bit of live DX. We did some Latin American DX. We heard 910 kilohertz, San Andres y Providencia, La FAMA, down on the island of San Andres, just off the Colombian coast. We heard quite a few stations as we launched our Graveyard Challenge. So this is now our 5th season of challenges here at DX Central. And for this first one of the year, we are returning to the Graveyard, our 5th annual Graveyard Challenge, where we challenge DXers to hear as many stations as they can on frequencies of 1230, 1240, 1340, 1400, 1450, and 1490 kilohertz. So that's the challenge that we are now in. You can be part of that, by the way. Just go to dxchallenges.com. If you haven't already, you can register now, and then once you're registered, you can submit your own loggings of what you've heard on those 6 frequencies, starting with this evening, 000 UTC Friday or Saturday morning, I guess, 000 UTC Saturday morning, and moving from there until we wrap this up in 3 weeks. We also had lots of shout outs in this episode, tons of shout outs, folks hearing a lot of stuff since we last met back in May. We did our own shout outs as well, what we've heard this summer. We talked a bit about the Summer of DX Challenge and who our score winner was. I'm not going to mention that here. We can listen on the stream here on the podcast, and you can find it out. We talked about a couple of other topics, including how to do Graveyard DX. What's some tips and tricks to be able to do DX on the Graveyard frequencies a little more effectively? Because it's not easy. It's not an easy thing. That's why it's a challenge. So without further ado, my friends, we bring to you our first edition of this series, DX Central Live, where we bring you the audio from our live streams on Friday nights as we go into episode 2 here of the From the Static Podcast.
From the Gulf South
to your corner of the world,
this is DX Central Live.
Now here's your host, Lloyd Van Horn.
From Studio A, North Shore Studios, welcome, my friend. It's DX Central Live Season 6. Now officially cooking with Crisco. We flapping that flapjack on the griddle, and we gonna cook it up nice. That means live DX. That means your shout outs. That means challenges, all of it. We're back to all of it. It's all back on the plate. Man, what a summer this was of DX. I expected a bounce back. I was hopeful for a bounce back for the FM season after 2024 was so bleh. I wasn't expecting what we got this summer. Good Lord. I'm still going through IQ recordings. How was your summer? 15 seconds before the countdown was going to end. The little 10-minute countdown that we have with Mark. 10 seconds before that ended, my glasses broke. So I'm on the backup pair. I think it's actually a backup pair. So if you see me kind of squinting tonight, that's why, because I'm on a backup pair of scratched up, scuffed up old prescription glasses. That's what's been going on here this week. I've had to replace a USB card in the computer. That way you can see me on the camera here on both camera 1 and camera 2. Hey, what's up, camera 2? A couple of other little technical things we've had going on. And I'm not going to have the Perseus tonight because I don't know what's going on with it. It's not connecting to the stuff, so I don't know. Yeah, it was a great summer of FMDX, at least for me. It was. I know. Here's the thing: you're always going to have, no matter how good the season is, you're always going to have somebody that it didn't get to. I remember 2022. Everybody was talking about how great 2022 was. Oh my gosh, it's an amazing season. Our friends Boot Crew North were having a great year. Just across the Louisiana border into Arkansas, they were having a fantastic year. All kinds of e-skip. The numbers, when I pulled the numbers from FM lists and I was looking at the data, 2022 was like this amazing season, right? All these logs. For me, I got hardly anything. It was terrible for me here. So you're always going to have somebody that it just kind of scoots over, and that's part of it, right? It's sporadic-y for a reason. But I think for the most part, I think most of us in the DX community were able to have a really, really good season this year, and get some good stuff. If nothing else, that July 4th opening should have gotten most of you something, right? And ironically, that was not a great day for me. It was okay. It was, I think I got, let's see, how many stations did I log July 4th? 86. 86 is pretty good for an opening. So, but compared to June 17th, compared to August 13th was a beast for me. It was a beast. That's the one I'm still going through. That's the one where I had Florida and Cayman Islands and Cuba and South Dakota and Minnesota and up in New York and Virginia and DC. I mean, I had all, when I look at the map, it's all directions. Odessa, Texas was on there, like all directions, all the way around. Were heard on that one day during that like long opening we had that day. So yeah, you're always going to have that. We are still going through, like I said, our June 17th and August 13th recordings here. I'm still going through those. And then once I get that done, and giving everyone else a chance, because there's still people putting in logs on FM list right now. Like there's still, I checked last night, there are still some numbers being updated. So giving everyone a chance to get all their stuff in from 2025 before we do our big data analysis project. But I can tell you just off the preliminary numbers, it's big. It's really big. 2025 is going to go down as a big, big year. And at least in recent years, I'll say that, at least in the context of the last 10 years or so, it's a standout year. And the number of logs, even when adjusted for the number of DXers, hint, hint, wink, wink. I get that a lot. Like, oh, there's more people reporting on FM list. Not that many. Not really. Not that many. Not many more compared to 2023. 2023, we had more DXers reporting and had fewer logs than this year. So yeah, we'll be doing our data analysis project on the FM e-skip season a bit later on after everyone has a chance to. Once I see the numbers kind of start to slow down and things aren't updating as much and there's not more logs kind of pouring in, we'll do that and we'll finish up the project and update all the numbers and comparisons to previous years and all that kind of stuff. So that will be coming. AM season is now underway, right? And we are now doing that primarily here at the DX Central. We're now moving into AM mode while we still finish up our FM recordings. Haven't done anything. I start my season September 1st. I know some people do August 1st, and I used to as well. I started on September 1st because down here in the South, August is still very much similar to July as far as conditions go, with like lightning crashes and all that kind of stuff. September is where we actually start to see some of those conditions start to open up a bit. That's why I use September 1st as my start of my season. In August, though, we had a nice little batch here of some Latin DX, and you know, for me that means I'm just a dog or a duck in water. I'm happy. A dog in mud, pig in slop, whatever you want to say. I was a happy camper. And I'll tell you why, because it was actually helped and facilitated by a new Kiwi SDR that was put up down in Costa Rica. And oh my goodness, that thing was pretty good. The conditions on it haven't been as great lately when I've checked. The antenna is not doing as good a job. There's been some more noise and stuff. But last time when they had it kind of up and running back in August, man, it was cooking. And I had all kinds of stuff. I had every country in Central America, as you can imagine. Some in South America, up into Mexico and U.S. It was spectacular. So we'll talk a bit about that later on. Obviously, we have to get to your shout outs as well. We have to let everyone else know what you've been hearing since last we met. So we'll be getting to those here later tonight. And we're going to be talking about our medium wave frequency challenge, where we're opening up here in the graveyard. No big secret. We've already announced it. We're opening up in the graveyard. And we have a new podcast to talk about. We just launched this week, the new podcast, which this episode of DX Central Live will be uploaded to that this weekend. So we'll be talking a bit about that later on. But I want to get to some DX. I'm looking up at the Kiwi waterfall right now. Looks like the band's filling in nicely, so I think it's a good time for us to get started on some live DX. And this DX session is brought to you by the International Radio Club of America, ircaonline.org. .org is the website, ircaonline.org. Let's take you on a quick tour around some of the antennas and radios that we have for us this evening. We start with the big boy, the big one here. This is the Shortwave Central Kiwi, our sister Kiwi around the corner, I guess Studio C at Mom's house. This is a 25 by 72 foot elevated CAS antenna, about 10 feet off the ground, pointing right at the Panama-Colombia border, man. And this thing cooks with Latin America. And you can log in whenever you want and DX off of it too. And right now it's pointing right at that 150 degree mark. We also have our home Kiwi here at North Shore Studios. This is the DX Central Kiwi. We have two antennas on there right now. We have our 15 by 56 Super Loop pointing at 263 degrees, so kind of west-ish. And that's been actually cooking lately as well. We've got KSL, KOA, pretty good, KNX, pretty well on this antenna recently. The conditions out west have been pretty nice. It also has a 20 by 70 foot CAS pointing 125 degrees down southeast. All of these, by the way, the big CAS, the elevated CAS, and these two, the other CAS and the Super Loop, all with hand-wound 16 to 1 transformers to keep everything nice and balanced. And then we have our AirSpy HF Plus Discovery. This one is also running that 20 by 70 foot CAS at 125 degrees, pointing southeast. So that is what we are going to be operating off of tonight. We do have some FM stuff as well that we can do. We'll be looking at that later on. But first, let's get started with the DX as we approach top of the hour here in just a few moments. Let's take a gander. I'm game to go wherever you guys want me to go. But I'm going to start off, if you have any preferences, since we haven't really launched the new challenge just yet. We can start off on something other than the graveyard. But let's check down. Let's just see how the Latin conditions are. We'll go to our beacon frequencies here. Let's start at 770. Mesa Mike says Radio Monumental is strong under LAC. Well, let's check it. Charge. Yeah, they are.
Accused of crashing a Little Caesars because of them.
I hear something else in there.
Police say Brianna Hayes asked for extra sauce with the order and was not happy with it. She was told it would cost $1 more.
I don't think that's Monumental that I'm hearing.
Counter, including the register, which
that sounds gospel.
$1,000 in damage.
Could that be South Carolina?
Back in January, Hayes was charged with criminal mischief, but was not arrested until another incident on September 22nd.
Cass says check 792. Let's check.
Black fatigue is real.
Nice. Let's take this down to upper sideband here. And we'll zoom in a little bit. Ozzy? Let's check 790 here. Boop, boop. Let's see if we have anything coming in from Cuba here. We have radio reload. This is always a good indicator.
Losing the house.
Just how loud is reload on 790?
Keep me up at night too. That's why I finally got life insurance from Ethos. It's 100% online. No medical exams, just a few health questions.
I've actually noticed reload has been kind of weak lately. I couldn't tell you why.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/gain. That's ethos.com/gain.
Rates may vary. Build monthly. Sample rate 10-year term life policy for a 35-year-old healthy non-smoking male.
I got you, Sean. See, this is when I'm getting like little bits of chat as I kind of glance over.
After our good friend Larry Ray joined.
Let's check 910. So I'm not really hearing a lot of Latin stuff here. There we have something. Our first top of the hour alert of the season. Here we go.
DX Central Live top of the hour alert.
It's top of the hour time frame. That means it is time for IDs here on the AM band. That's where we are right now. We're looking at 910 kilohertz right now, looking for Latin American stations, and I think we got something. This is where San Andres y Providencia has been over the years. Former outlet of RCN in Colombia, RCN Radio. But I feel like I've heard some of those RCN Radio sounders again. They changed to La FM, and maybe they still are La FM. We'll find out here in a few moments. Hey, Mamacita, what's up? We're on your radio. This is her radio we're on right now. Right around the corner. And what a beast of a radio this is. This is her Kiwi. I think they're back. Ah, no, they're still La FM. But at least they're using the RCN Radio sounder. Even if they've changed format to La FM. Hey, Neil. Hey, Mamacita, check it. Check what happened to the glasses tonight. Yeah, I can't really see them very well. Broken. But I gotta go get new glasses this week. It happened like right before the show started, too. All right, so we got the RCN Radio sounder in there. We got a Spanish station. It sounds like it might be a religious station. I think there's a station in Texas that does that. Let's go check. Hey, let's check 800 and hear if Bonaire is coming in this evening under my local.
Colorado Springs. In his message, he offers a reminding us that God begins with one person.
Oh, 910 is a fan. It's one of my favorites, Javi Man.
Now's the time for
Bienvenido a el Ministerio de Enseñanza Bíblica.
I was just trying to wipe him off. And this is the second time this frame has done this. So I'm not getting that frame again. So this Spanish station you're hearing right now, this is PJB, Trans World Radio Netherlands, Antilles, or Bonaire. There's PJB. Under my local, I had to null out my local. This is what I would normally hear.
So I said, this is Isaiah speaking. Woe is me, for
if I didn't have the null.
I'm going to pause at this portion.
Go down to 600.
To introduce this.
See if Nicaragua's coming in.
Of God, we didn't get very far.
Another local we have to get through.
We saw, first of all, divine judgment through the cross, and that is one fact. And that is truth that are for the present hour. And one is
hey, Hunter.
Judgment of the believer. God permits us to deal with the sin in our own life.
Awesome. Glad that you're in there. I'm trying to keep that thing up and running. That's an online web server. We'll take a look at it here in a little bit, actually. Conditions haven't been super great on the FM lately. We haven't had any Tropo. We usually get some fall seasonal Tropo in here, and kind of meh. I don't hear Nicaragua. Normally, I would hear Nicaragua here on a good Latin night. And then one more we're going to check here. Let's look at 780.
Children suffer.
Notices have gone out to a number of employees at different agencies, ranging from the Department.
All right, so I've got a loud BBM, or a decently dominant WBBM. If this was a good Latin night, they wouldn't be as big. And the station that's underneath them, I don't know if that is Colombia. Normally, this is where I hear Radio Viva. Radio Viva. I don't think that's them. That doesn't sound like Radio Viva. Yeah, May was pretty good. We had that one. Was it May 16th? We had an opening on the Gulf Trapo here. That was pretty nice. One more check. We'll just go back here and see if Radio Monumental has come up at all. I'm a poet, and I kind of knew it.
San Diego County District Attorney Summer Steffen revealing since October of 2024, the county sheriff's crime lab received 30 requests for inhalant testing involving nitrous oxide. Also,
they're in there. They're not super loud, though.
29.
So it doesn't look like a super great Latin night here, which actually might bode well for us to. Since we're going to be concentrating on the domestic stuff here with the graveyard channels, probably not going to be missing out on much. When I'm spending time in the graveyards, I always have this little sneaky thing in the back of my head going, could be some Latin DX, you know. And I'm like, okay, let me go check real quick. And so then I'm like, oh yeah, graveyards, I got to focus. Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to bring you. We're talking about this graveyard challenge we're about to launch here. It's actually now open, and I think. Oh, maybe not. No, it's not open yet. Well, maybe it is actually. I'll double check. But we'll do that, and we'll get to some of your shout-outs, and we'll talk about the podcast and some of the other stuff that we've been doing here. We got to wrap up the Summer DX Challenge, which we still need to do some work on to wrap that up. But don't go anywhere, my friends. More DX Central Live is heading your way right after this.
DX Central, because we're all about radio. Visit us at dxcentralonline.com or check us out on YouTube. Keep up with DX Central. Follow us on Twitter at DX Central.
Are you ready for some DX? I said, are you ready for some DX? Well, I'm ready for some DX. Let's see what Lloyd has in store for us. Here we go. In the glow of the screen, it's a Friday night. Lloyd's on the North Shore, setting frequencies right. AM and FM, the airwaves collide. DX Central Live, where the signals abide. Radio's on, the channels all agree. On DX Central Live, it's the place to be.
From the DX Central North Shore Studios, this is DXC Live. Now here's your host, Lloyd Van Horn.
It's DX Central Live from the North Shore Studios here in Mandeville, Louisiana, in Studio A. We just did a big remodel of Studio B, and that's now our podcast studio. And also we do like all of our music work. Some of you might know I'm a songwriter and I write music and have a couple albums out and stuff like that. So that's also it's our studio for music, and video editing is in there as well. But right now it's really a lot of the editing and stuff and the voiceover work, the stuff we do in there for the podcast. And so that is now a new podcast. It's fromthestatic.net, fromthestatic.net. Just go there or anywhere that you get podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeart Podcasts, Odyssey, Listen Notes, all those, Amazon, Audible, all those have the podcast up now, and also from our website, from thestatic.net. So check it out. We have one episode up there right now that we released. Our first one was just kind of an intro to DX. We talk about AM DX, about FM DX. It's a little long, an hour and a half, but we had to do all of our intros, and there was a lot to talk about in that particular episode. So I'm going to try to keep the ones that aren't the live stream down a little bit easier to digest, but they are free form. I mean, they are long form rather. And so, I mean, the whole thing is that you take it with you. You aren't tied to your computer and stuff, right? So like the episode tonight will be up this weekend on the podcast. So you'll be listening to the audio of this episode on the podcast. Some of you are doing that right now, and that's awesome. But I've started doing like walks every evening, like an hour-long walk, and I've started taking these podcasts with me while I do it. So pop my ear pods in, and I'm listening to the Y-Files with AJ and Hecklefish, or I'm listening to a buddy of mine I actually used to work with when I was in radio. His name is Micah Hanks. He does a paranormal podcast and stuff, so listen to his, and so I got the idea. You know, obviously we're big supporters here of Nick and Bryce and the VHF DX podcast that they do as well. So just got the idea. I mean, we always wanted to do one here. That was always like when I was mapping out DX Central back in like spring of 2020. It was like, okay, we're gonna have a website, obviously. I want to do a live stream, so we're gonna do a live stream and a podcast. Got to do a podcast. Like it was like number 3 on the list, and it took us 5 years, but here we are. So check it out from thestatic.net, and you too can listen in on our podcast. So we'll be doing these episodes. We'll have educational stuff that we'll do on there as well, kind of like we do with our DX 101 videos, tips and tricks and stuff like that. We're also going to have interviews. We're going to put the Nick and Bryce interview up there, so if you missed it before, you can listen to it. We're going to have we have our Wayne Heinen interview we did season 2, I think, and then we have another interview that none of you have ever heard. We're going to be putting out here soon, hopefully. And so we're doing those, the DXC one-on-ones. We also want to hear your stories, and I'm working up a new form because I want you guys to be able to submit, you know, whichever way you want to go. If you want to record your story and I'll play it in the podcast, or if you want to write up your story and send it to me and I'll read it on the podcast. But we want to hear your stories, your origin stories. What's your favorite DX catch you've ever had? What's your favorite radio you've ever used? Did you ever take a DX trip? And this could be something, even if you like, let's say you submit your origin story, then later on you're like, oh, I should have talked about that DX trip I did to Outer Banks. Well, send it to us. As you think of these stories, send them in, and we'll get them on the podcast. And I'll try to probably gather them up and do a bunch of them all at once and do like just a stories episode of everyone's stories. But and I've got a couple of other ideas, some other things that I want to do on the podcast as well. So stay tuned about that. Speaking of, one thing before we move on to the next topic here, which is your shout outs. I am going to be starting a Patreon. I've had people ask me about doing a Patreon, and I kind of dragged my feet on a little bit. I was like, I mean, just watch the live stream and watch the videos. And that's how you can support us. With the podcast, you can't really do a podcast without a Patreon, I've learned. And some of the other stuff that we're working on. And now we are up to, I want to say 10 or 12 domains, and we have a handful. We've also secured some domains that we haven't released yet. We're going to be eventually. So I think we're like 19 different domains that we have now with all the different stuff that we're working on. And there's the hosting and everything. So it's starting to, the costs are starting to get a little bit piled up. So I still want to continue to bring this stuff to you guys. So that's why we are going to do a Patreon here soon. So if you are so inclined, you can support the channel and all the stuff that we do here at DX Central by becoming a Patreon member, and you'll get some extra goodies. And that's what we're working on right now, is like, what extra goodies can I commit to that I can say I can definitely get that. So we're going to work up some extra goodies and make that available so you guys can be, get something extra for your efforts and your support. So we appreciate you guys. But, I mean, just the fact that you're here on a Friday night with me, and most of you guys are here for like the entire show, like, that's just phenomenal. So thank you. We had a question from our friend Stuart in the chat about the Summer of DX Challenge. And yes, we're going to be doing all the big hoopla about that in an upcoming episode. But I guess I can go ahead and announce this part, because this I don't think is going to change. I have some cleanup I need to do on the data, some duplicate removals and things like that. But I don't think this is going to change based on the results I'm looking at now. If we total up the scores, and you guys know the scores, I haven't done the bonuses for like months and propagation, all that kind of stuff. Haven't really put those extra bonuses in there. But again, that's not going to really change the outcome here, because Greg Caniglio up in New York, absolutely blowing everybody out the water here, with more than 15,000 points between AM and FM, 13,000 of that on the FM side. So congratulations, Greg Caniglio, our winner of the 2025 Summer of DX Challenge. Phenomenal DX from him this year on the AM and the FM side, especially that FM. We also, you guys know, we're chasing grids this year in our DX Challenge, our Summer of DX Challenge. And so let's talk a bit about that real quick. So I've tried this summer to send out all of the certificates, the e-certificates, for those who were able to achieve 100 grids via FM this year. And I can announce who those folks are. And they are Barry Bankston, our very first one. He has 286 grids, you guys. How does this guy? How do you do it, Barry? Greg, 195 grids. Stuart Carlson, 110. David Pete, 108. And Les Rayburn got that right there at 100 to get on there. We got ours as well. We're at 203 grids, so we had a decent year. A special, I would be remiss if I didn't do a special shout out here to our final FM Century Club member here, John Sarin. Some of you may know Pastor John was a big part of the DX Central community, was here on the live streams with us in the Slack channel. Unfortunately, we lost John this summer to an illness. So this show is actually dedicated to John, and for a great guy, a tremendous DXer, and it's a big loss for all of us in the DX community. So rest in peace, John. We're still here chatting with you and having a good time in your name. So thank you for being part of all the fun over the years, John, and prayers to you and your family as you have now passed on. So, all right. So yeah, those were the FM Century Club folks, and yeah, we'll have all the other stats and everything else that we'll be talking about as we get into our season here this summer. Or this season, rather. Can't even talk. All right, let's do some quick shout-outs. Your shout-outs. Go to dxchallenges.com/shout-outs, and you can submit yours now. Let's do it.
Shout out loud, hear the call for every single big or small, from AM to FM, from C to C. We celebrate the ones who slag the IT. Shout out loud, let it be known, you're never DXing all alone. Through the static we found our way. Shout-outs making waves today.
All right, it's been a while since we got to fire off the horn of victory, rev up the chainsaw, stamp some passports, all that good stuff that we like to do here. So dxchallenges.com/shoutout. What you're doing here, for those who might be newer to the live stream, is you're letting us know what you have heard since last we met. Now, last time we met, it was May of this year, earlier this summer. So a long stretch of time here that we need to kind of catch up on. So this one will have a little bit more shout outs than usual, bigger shout outs than usual from our audience members. But you just go to that website, dxchallenges.com/shoutout. Tell us what you've heard. There's a couple of things in there you can flag, like what kind of category it was and that kind of stuff. So just tell us what you've heard, and we're gonna play some goofy sounds and some goofy videos and just have some fun with it. And that's what we do here at DX Central. We just have fun with it. And we're going to do that. Okay. Let's start with John Johnson out in Arizona. The Summer of DX Challenge brought me 9 new loggings, 880 WIJR. And I'm hoping I'm reading these right, because I am on my backup glasses here. Let me zoom in a little bit. There we go. WIJR, Highland, Illinois, 910 KBIM in Roswell, 930 KKXX in Paradise, California, 990 KATD, Pittsburgh, California, 1030 KJDJ in San Luis Obispo, 1300 KLER, Orofino, Idaho, 1430 KFIG in Fresno, California, 1570 KCVR in Lodi, California, 940 XERLA in Santa Rosalia. And that's in Baja California South, and that's on my list. To bring my Mesa, Arizona total to 913 stations. FMDX brought me maybe 2 stations all summer. I had ChatGPT try to explain things, and it has to do with some atmosphere being too stable over Phoenix. So he's saying didn't get a lot of FMDX. Perhaps Lloyd want to expand on FMDXing in my area. 89 or 98.9 KNSR in Collegeville, Minnesota, and 105.7 KNSR Yakima, Washington, both received. Some 70 regular FM stations in the area. So we'll try to talk on that when we talk about the FM season here in a bit. But real quick, let's toss some logs here for our friend John. Got some new stations here this year, and now up to 913 stations received in Mesa, Arizona for our friend John Johnson. There we go. we go. Congratulations, John. And we'll talk a bit about some FM propagation stuff here in a bit. Our next shout out goes to Dan Massey in Texas. Dan had a new medium wave Mexican state, Baja California, sir. Come on, that's 2 in a row. XEBCS La Paz, 10,000 watts. I've heard that one. I forget what frequency that's on. 1230 UTC on 926. That's on my list. New state for Dan on AM, Wyoming with KFBU Cheyenne, 1630 kilohertz, 1,000 watts on June 13th. Give I forget where you are, Dan, in Texas, but also give 1030 KTWO K2 in Casper, Wyoming a shot. When I was in San Antonio briefly back in the 90s, I heard Casper from there, and I've heard him from here too. So you should have a shot after KCTA goes off the air. If Mexico is not coming in too loud on that frequency, you should have a shot at KTWO for another Wyoming. The first summer FMDX, it's the first summer of FMDX, 263 stations, 32 states, of which 113 were E-skip, 9 meteor scatters. Says thanks to Lloyd for training on FMDX. My pleasure, brother. That's what it's all about. So first we got to get you that new Mexican state. And there we go. Estado de Mexico. And it's one that I want so bad. Baja California, sir. Yeah, that's what I want for sure. We also have a new state here for Dan as well. So we're going to pop some fireworks here. Celebration. Hey, it's odd. And of course, we're going to do that log saw because you got some new logs on FM as well. So here we go. All right, congratulations to Dan. Well done, my friend. We'll do 2 more, and then we'll take a break on those, and we'll come back to another session of shout-outs a little bit later on. We've got quite a few to get to here. Kaz is in the house with the shout-out. Nice. Again, you can get your shout-outs in. It's just dxchallenges.com/shoutout. Let us know cool stuff you've been hearing. Jerry in New York. Jerry Hart's got some cool stuff coming in. 1300 WJZ in Baltimore on the 23rd of September. WTGN 1550 in Bristol, Tennessee on the 5th of October. So these are new season stuff here. WIGN 1070 Madison, Wisconsin. 1180 Hope Valley, Rhode Island. WSKP in Lucky Duck. 1190 WLIB in New York. Impressive. That would be a new one. And 1590 WUAB, Auburn, New York. So let's go ahead and saw some logs for our good friend Jerry. Well done, my friend. There you go. All right. Let's get to our friend Sean Kuzco. You guys know him, KX9X, in Champaign, Illinois. Sean says, welcome back, all friends. Good to have DXC around for a 6th season. Ain't that the truth? I more or less took a break from broadcast band DXing over the summer so I could focus on my ham radio pursuit of Maidenhead grid squares on 50, 144, and 432 megahertz. It was a productive season with 22 new grids worked or confirmed on 6 meters. Tried my hand at the Summer of DX Challenge for a time, focusing on FM only. Again, going for those grid squares. Even going so far as to purchase a 4-element FM Yagi off of Amazon, but couldn't really sustain the interest. I think that FM DXing will remain a very casual pursuit for me, with my primary activity being the autologger. I was that way for a while. I really was, until I got the E-skip bug, and I started getting some really significant E-skip catches. That's when things started changing. And that's when I started really just kind of leaning in on FM was the E-skip, and then Tropo down here too. The last episode of the season 5 was May 2nd, so between then and August 24th, only 3 AM stations logged. Started paying attention again on August 26th, and so from August 26th, 58 new logs. 1 new country, La Nueva Radio Ya. That's Nicaragua, YNLD on AM 600. 2 new Mexican stations, including one I need to go get myself because I haven't done this yet. XELOVE on 640 AM, because I've heard them, I'm pretty sure, battling Progresso here. And XERED AM 1110. And a new TIS, KAC 748 1610 in Kearney, Nebraska, 10 watts from the Homestead National Monument. A big thrill was catching KRDU 1130 in California at 1100 Zulu on the 20th of September. That's my 5th California overall and my first that wasn't a 50 kilowatt. They're only 5 kilowatts. So 5 kilowatts to Illinois, that's a big deal. But perhaps the most exciting thing I've heard since May 3rd was the carrier of A3Z Tonga on 1017 at my sunrise on October the 5th. It was carrier only, no audio, but I had it around negative 75 dB or so at a distance of 6,994 miles. My first Trans-Pacific DX, even though I can't officially log it. But big thanks to Tim Trump for helping me out that morning. There have been some interesting openings recently. CKWX 1130 Vancouver has been present several times in the last couple of weeks. KNX 1070 LA has turned into a regular every morning visitor since late September with wonderful signals. And yet, interestingly, not much else would appear on those paths. I, too, have been hearing some Western stuff earlier in the evening or late evening here in Mandeville. I redid most of my bogs recently and have also, those are Beverage on the Ground, redid most of my bogs recently. I've also finally started on my real ham radio tower, which will be 40 foot tall with big Yagis for 50, 144, and 432 and mast mounted preamps. I've been wanting this for years, and me too. Looking forward to a great DX season, mostly looking forward to being able to see all of you on Friday nights again. My man, Sean Kuzco, folks, KX9X, friend of the channel, friend of all of us here at DX Central, the voice of our advertising and other stuff too. We also have him doing other voice work here for us at DX Central. So he's some of the voices that you'll hear will be Sean. He did also include a clip here of CKWX 1130 Vancouver, British Columbia. So let's take a gander at that. Yeah, that's Vancouver. I remember when I heard them here, it was weak. I have KWKH to have to deal with here in Louisiana. But I gotten rid of enough of them, and they were just in there enough that I was able to compare it to their online stream, or it was either online stream. I think it was a Kiwi up there in Pacific Northwest. And heard just enough to be able to say that's them. So I've never heard them that loud. That's amazing. Well done, my friend. So we got some stuff to do here. First, we got to get you a new country. So we got to stamp your passport. That's one thing we got to do. And I'm going to find that right about here. So bam, new country. And then we also have to give you, let's see, what else did you get? Those are logs. So we have to saw some logs for you here. So there you go. So that is a new country in Nicaragua. One of my all-time favorite Latin American radio stations. La Nueva Radio Ya. So well done, Sean, my friend, and congratulations. All right, Tonga is 932, or no, it's 1017. 1017, right? Yeah, 1017. I had the image of the call sign. A3Z is the call sign. Frequency is 1017. All right, let's go ahead and we'll take a pause on the shout-outs for just a few minutes. We'll come back to those here in a little bit. But first, I want to get to our announcement of our Anyway Frequency Challenge for the first one for the year. It's not a secret. We've already talked about it publicly, but I like this video.
Each year, they return, seeking signals buried deep within the cacophony. They dare to tread through the myriad of voices, each desperately struggling to rise to the top of the horde. For 3 weeks, they relentlessly seek their fortune in the graveyard. The 5th annual DX Central Graveyard Challenge is now open. Register and submit your loggings at dxchallenges.com. If you dare.
I always like it. We've done the Graveyard Challenge at various points in the season, but I love it when we can do it around Halloween-y time frame. It makes it a little more fun. So yeah, we are now in the Graveyard Challenge. So you go to dxchallenges.com. Make sure you are registered if you have not yet done so already, and you can partake and be part of the fun here. With our Graveyard Challenge. 1230, 1240, 1340, 1400, 1450, and 1490. Going to the website here to make sure everything is working. Oh, I didn't spell it right. DX Challenges. 2 L's in there. Yeah, I'm used to doing my own name with 1 L, so anytime I see 2 L's, I just resist it out of spite. We're going to log in to the website here. I'm just double checking to make sure that everything is looking good. Everything should be live. Taking a little time. I tried to make some improvements this year to the website or make it run a little better, a little faster. I did have to delete a bunch of cache stuff off of the website. So you may see stuff like this when you're loading it for the first time. It may take a little bit of time to get to, but hopefully after a little while that will speed up as you're rebuilding of the cache. Hopefully, didn't take this long, though. I wouldn't think. Did I update that link? Here we go. I'll have to go update those, make sure all those links are looking good. Here is the landing page for the... I'll put this in the chat for those who are on the live stream with us. The landing page of the actual Graveyard Challenge itself. Oh, it's going to the wrong one. Oh, that's just great. All right, I'll fix it. I'll fix that up. But yes, the Graveyard Challenge, 1230, 1240, 1340, 1400, 1450, and 1490. Those are the 6 frequencies that we're going to be spending a lot of time on over the next 3 weeks. This will run through the end of Halloween on our live episode that night. So for those of you who might have not done one of these before with us, as far as the DX Challenge itself goes, what can you expect? Well, the DX... it's logged in the wrong one. Why? DXing the graveyards is challenging for sure. It is it's something that requires a lot of patience. Got 150 some odd radio stations on one frequency, all of them going to be sitting there with about 1,000 watts and a non-directional pattern for the most part. Not all, but for the most part, most of them are. And yeah, it's just a bunch of stuff. So this is one of those, a lot of times when you're a newer DXer, I know I did this for years. I just avoided the graveyards because I was like, I'm not sitting through all that. So I would just do all the ones that were comfortable, where I had like maybe 2 or 3 stations on top, and I can kind of sort through those. That seemed more fun to me. But then I started actually diving into the graveyards a bit, and they were a lot of fun. And so it's definitely one of those that if you take some time, learn how to DX the graveyards, you can have a lot of output. You can get a lot of stations in your log that way. So one of the things that I recommend doing is, let's see. I at least want to update this right now so that you guys can get to the page before I do anything else. There we go. So that is now updated. So if you go to the challenge Meanway Frequency Challenge website, you should be able to get to the Graveyard Challenge landing page now. So yes, I learned some techniques. There's some stuff that my dad taught me, some techniques that you can do, and I'll share some of those with you now because I think it'll also. I share these usually around this time of the year when we do the Graveyard Challenge, but I think it's important to kind of refresh on some of these, and it'll help us to, especially our newer folks, be able to get some of these graveyard stations in the logbook. So the number one thing you're going to want to make sure that you do is try to back off the gain. So you can back the gain down, you can add attenuation, you can adjust your AGC threshold a little bit, whatever you need to do to lower down the rumble of all the stations. So I'm going to give you an example here. Let's go ahead and let's bring up the Kiwi. And so this is our shortwave. Let's go to the DX Central Kiwi on our West Super Loop. And let's go to 12. We have a local on 1230. Let's go to 1400. That's a good one for us here, where we shouldn't have too much splatter and stuff to deal with. All right. So that's what you're going to hear. You're going to hear just a smattering of stations on here. So I'm going to give you some tips for those who might be newer to the graveyards that can help you actually sort through this. So 2 things you're going to want to make sure you do. Definitely want to be around the top of the hour on these things. And we've done 3 weeks here, so you can focus on like 2 frequencies each week. And if you do that, then you should be able to get through all 6 in the span of our challenge here. So really focus in on top of the hour where those IDs are going to be. Bottom half of the hour is a good time as well, because sometimes, especially stations that might have like a network break, whether it's sports or especially news talk, they might be more likely to have an ID around that bottom half of the hour than they would other parts of the hour. But you're going to want to try to get it so where you only have 1 or 2 stations on top, if at all possible, or make it easier for one to kind of dominate. So we want to get rid of that rumble. So again, if you have a setting on your radio, whether it's a portable or an SDR, to adjust your RF gain and bring it down, or if you have attenuation that you can add in, what you're trying to do is get it to where all you really hear is like just a station or 2 or maybe 3 on top. You want to be able to have distinct audio kind of dominating the frequency if you can, and get rid of the rumble. Now, I have an RF that I can do here on my Kiwi, but I'd rather do it this way. I'm going to go to my AGC, and I'm going to adjust my threshold until we accomplish the same thing. So let me show you what this sounds like when we do this.
Fall squarely within the 4 corners of the Insurrection Act. So this judge is wrong. U.S. District Judge April Perry issued a temporary block on Trump's use.
Okay, so I brought it way down to exaggerate a little bit here. See how my audio is brought down? Now I'm going to slowly bring it up. So that's a good spot. Now I can adjust the audio level. It's a little weak, so I can bring up my audio volume. I can back this threshold off a little bit more. Turn it up a bit. You see how now we have distinct stations in there, that big rumble. I'm going to take this back. So we're at -44. Let's go back to 100. Now, obviously, the volume is different, but you see how it also gets rid of that rumble? What we're trying to do is save our ears, right? We don't want that fatigue of just that constant cacophony of stations wearing our ears out, trying to, in our brain, to try to make sense of it and find something in the static and the noise. We want to get rid of as much of that as we can and let something kind of percolate to the top. So, again, backing your RF gain down, adding in attenuation, if that's like my Perseus has attenuation, I can add in, or adjusting your AGC threshold like I have here to lower it down, or actually bring it up, make it a higher threshold, because we went from a -100 to a -43 here, -45. We want to bring that up a bit so that it takes a stronger signal to get through, right? Basically is what we're trying to do. We want to get that to a point where you're getting rid of anything that's not strong enough, whether it's through RF or attenuation or the AGC threshold. Get rid of anything that's not strong enough to cut through. Once you've done that, you should have just a couple of stations left, and then you can have a little bit better chance at getting something. Another thing that you can do, my AirSpy HF Plus Discovery and SDR Sharp. So I have attenuation on this one, so I can add attenuation in. This also has a mode here called binaural mode right here. Binaural is really, really good for this because what it basically does is it puts like the lower sideband in your left ear, upper sideband in your right ear, so you can hear distinct sidebands. And I say that because sometimes a station is louder in one sideband than they are in the other, right? Sometimes they'll be higher in lower sideband than they are in upper sideband and vice versa. So if you do that, if you separate those out like that, you're listening to both at the same time. Now you have a better shot at one of those kind of that's the signal kind of sticking out if it's dedicated to one ear. If you don't have binaural mode, you can kind of recreate this a little bit by actually just going to a lower sideband or upper sideband. So you're getting rid of one sideband entirely. Now, the downside is if you're doing this as opposed to binaural mode is that you've gotten rid of one sideband. So there could be some stations that are stronger over there that you're not hearing. But if you're trying to kind of thin things out a little bit, this is a great way to do it. So here's an example of what I mean by that. Let's go back to my main kind of dual mode here. And now I'm going to go to my lower. So you can kind of hear it's kind of gotten rid of some stuff.
Your veteran status, and thank you, brother. Take care of yourself. Let's keep going.
Now there's on upper, there's a little bit slightly different presentation of the stations that are there. So that lower sideband, upper sideband can work really, really well to reduce that and kind of thin things out a little bit. Or if you have that binaural mode, allow you to separate those two sidebands into your individual ears and make it easier for those signals that are rising to the top on one or the other sidebands to kind of stand up. SDR console has that binaural mode. SDR Sharp has binaural. I don't remember if SDR Connect does or not, but I know those two do. Console and SDR Sharp absolutely both have binaural mode, and they are really, really good at helping you with those recordings or helping you with those signals. Now, you can do this in Live DX. You can also do it on recordings as well if you're using an SDR. So you can actually go back into your recording after the fact and do all the same stuff that I'm talking about on the recording itself. It's not just for live mode, unless you are with like a portable. So how would I do that on something like this? This is the DX286 from Quoteson or whatever. There's not really a RF or attenuation or AGC or anything like that. So how would I do that? How would I adjust that down to lower the cacophony a little bit? Just turn the volume down. Turn it down until it's just barely enough for where you can start to hear something on it. So if you turn that down, that will also help a little bit. Don't have anything else that can do. Speaking of portables, you guys like the new, this came in this summer. This is the DP666. It's the TEF 6686 radio. It is a portable version that I have now that I'm going to be able to take out with me. And this one I am pairing with a 5-element. Yeah, 5-element Yagi that I got from Arrow. It's a custom cut for 102 megahertz Yagi antenna, 5 elements. And that is paired with this guy for a portable, so I can just tear it down and bring it back up and got a bag for it. It's awesome. At some point I'll be able to deploy that and show you guys. Maybe when we get some Tropo around here, I can do it then. So those are the two big things. Obviously, if you have something like a loop antenna that you can turn, or with a portable that you can turn the actual radio itself, turning your direction will help as well, because they'll give you a different mix of stations. If you don't have one of those that can turn, if you have multiple different antennas, like here, I can bounce back and forth between like my southern facing antennas and my western facing antenna, or my northeast antenna. I can change those directions by changing which antenna I'm using. So that can help give me a different presentation on each frequency. But if I don't have one of those, then like just taking your loop antenna and turning it, if you have like a mast or whatever, or if you have a rotor that you're using on there, just turn the antenna, and that should give you a little bit different presentation of what you're hearing on air. Okay. I want to talk some this next hour about FM, but I want to get some live DX right now. How about that? Let's do some live DX. Let's listen on some of these graveyarders and see if we can get anything to come out. This DX session is brought to you by the National Radio Club, nationalradioclub.org. That's where you go for more information about getting signed up for membership and being able to take advantage of all the cool stuff that they've got at the NRC, including the NRC AM radio log. In this digital world where we have station lists from our friend like Tim Trump with his DXer, his AM DXer Canada US station list, which is amazing. Mason Mike, he's in the chat. He's got his US station list, which is amazing. I use it all the time for my logbooks. There's medium wave lists. There's all these different places you can go, station locator, things like that, a radio locator. Even with all that stuff, AM radio log, print AM radio log is still one of the absolute best ways that you can get station information, because it's going to have all kinds of stuff that you're not going to really find anywhere else. And you can keep it up to date very easily with just a little, if you're a subscriber to the National Radio Club's DX News. So they have all this updates for call signs and formats and antenna patterns and all the other stuff in there. So you can update your station information and keep that log current as the year goes along. You don't have to wait until the next year to get the most up-to-date information. You can get that through the year by updating it with the DX News. So get yourself a membership, get the DX News. You can get the electronic version. It's super cost-effective. You can get the AM radio log, so you can have the nice handy copy that you can take, even if you don't have internet and you're out in the field somewhere with a portable radio, you want a DX, you don't have internet because cell phone kind of sucks out there. Guess what? The NRC AM radio log is going to be your best friend. All right, let's do some DX here. We are on the western facing Superloop, which means we should be looking out towards Tejas. Our friend Cass says the more directive antenna you have for graveyards, the better. Agreed. Because you're cutting out stuff other directions, right? So your antenna is actually thinning out the horde. You hear how they're fading up, taking the top of the frequency like that? That's what you want. Another little thing, I was just looking through the chat. Barry mentions he feels like he has reached kind of a ceiling on his graveyard stuff. Try different times of the year as well, because later in the year, like this time of the year, right, you're getting longer graveyard catches as the noise goes down. You have less daylight, you have more darkness. Those paths can kind of really develop, and so you're getting more stuff from longer distances. In the summertime, you have shorter darkness times, longer days, and so that's going to create a different look. And I find that's where I get more of like the stuff that's in that 300 to 600 mile range, where in the winter I'm getting like 600 plus mile range. And then obviously your spring and fall, this time of the year, right? It's going to be a mix mash. You're going to get different stuff that you don't get really any other time of the year. So seasonally, do this graveyard challenge for yourself every season. Around the equinoxes are great times to do it. Around the solstice, things like that, those are really good times to do it. Anytime you have a daylight savings change into or out of, that's a great time to do it. So those times of the year, different times of the year, will give you different results on the graveyards than if you're only doing it during just the regular DX season, so to speak. Oh, Gray Line too. Yes, Gray Line during the graveyards is phenomenal because you'll have the stations fade up as they're along the Gray Line. We'll talk about that here in a bit. Somebody's playing Journey in there. I've got a football game, and I've got a talk station. Kind of in and out. Here are my 1,400 stations that I have heard here. This puts this as a candidate here. This McAllister, Oklahoma, is a candidate for that Journey station that we're hearing right now. Here's our high school football candidate. One of them. We're looking out west. Yeah, so those are all the stations we've heard here on 1,400 so far. Yeah, PJB can be loud. There we go.
And I am disgusted and appalled that this is somehow thought of it as I told you. No, I have spent a lot of my life learning about.
All right, all the links now should be updated on the challenge page to point you to the right place. I just have one page left up there. There's some high school football in there. There is Mark Levine in there with that Ray Charles. I think you're right, Barry.
DX Central Live Top of the Hour Alert.
Top of the hour time means we are looking for station IDs. We're sitting here in the graveyard, 1400 kilohertz. Let's see what we got. Yeah, it looks like the form is up and running. So, yeah, we guys are good to be able to get in there and start submitting your logs for the Graveyard Challenge. We are up and running. All good to go. These will be receptions from 00 UTC this evening. Is when we started. Okay. That's who our ID was there at the top of the hour. That's now on Fox News.
These are largely people that the Democrats want, and many of them will be fired.
Let's go to 1450. Again, we're looking west, so Lake Charles makes sense.
One guy just
Our friend Jacob up in Minnesota just heard top of the hour ID on 1450 for KZZJ in Rugby, North Dakota. Said that it's very rarely heard for him. Well done, man. Would love to have North Dakota on the graveyard here. That would be a feat. You remind me. I'm on TVDX. Let me take a look at my map. Not normal. That's what my my new Winegard antenna that I have up in the air, that's what it's seeing. This is ever. That's all the stuff it's ever seen. Not bad, eh? But you can see how dead the conditions are here. I mean, look, this is my FM. This is my 62-foot Omni. This is my 21-foot dipole. Just nothing. It is dead down here right now on the FM band. All right. Not hearing anything in there now. I was hoping that a high school football station in there would ID, but I guess they did not. All right, let's go ahead and take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the FMDX season. We'll do some more year shout-outs, and we'll also talk a bit, we'll do some more DX, more graveyard DX, and see if we can get anything to come out of the graveyard. Don't go anywhere, my friends. More DX Central Live is coming up just right after this.
DX Central, because we're all about radio. Visit us at dxcentralonline.com or check us out on YouTube. Search DX Central. Keep up with DX Central. Follow us on Twitter at DX Central. Central North Shore Studios. This is DXC Live. Now here's your host, Lloyd Van Horn.
It's DX Central Live from the North Shore Studios here in beautiful Mandeville, Louisiana. We bring you live DX conversation and topics, tips, tricks, how-tos, all kinds of stuff. We also do that on our podcast. You just heard mentioned from thestatic.net for our DX Central from the Static podcast. You can find it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you get podcasts, really. And also from our website, from thestatic.net. And this episode will be uploaded this weekend to that podcast. You'll be able to catch this. If you had to kind of cut in and out and couldn't stick around for the whole thing, take us with you. While you're out cutting the grass, raking leaves, working on antennas, whatever it might be, you can bring us with you and just have those ear pods in and listen to DX Central. That's a great thing. Saw mentioned, Dan, you mentioned you were in the Houston Comfort area there in Texas. Not too far from your backyard there in Comfort is a classic car dealer. And that's where I bought this beast. a 74 Chevy C10. They're in Sherman, PC Classic Cars in Sherman, Texas, and cut me a really good deal on this thing. It's basically all original. I just had to replace the tires, but basically all original. 74, and it's got like 75 some odd 1,000 miles on it, original miles. So it's a great deal. So I'm a fan of that neck of the woods. All right, let's get to some more of your shout outs here, and you can submit your shout outs to be here on the live stream. Just go to dxchallenges.com/shoutout, and we'll get them in here. We'll read them out for everybody else to be able to celebrate those DX catches and do the high five routine here on the live stream.
Shout out loud, hear the call for every single big or small, from AM to FM, from C to C. We celebrate the ones who snag the ID. Shout out loud, let it be known, you're never DXing all alone. Through the static we found our way. Shout outs making waves today.
You know, in that truck, I wanted to put a ham radio in there. A ham radio, like I was originally looking at putting my 706 Mark II-G in there, but held off on that. But I also wanted to put a CB in there because it's a 70s model truck. You gotta have a CB. And we live relatively near Interstate 12 here in St. Tammany Parish, where I am in Mandeville. So we get some truckers that go by and things like that. And I was like, I'm not putting a new CB in there. I'm not putting a brand new one. It's got to be a classic. So I found an old classic Cobra 148 GTL. It's one of the sideband models. I always wanted this 148 GTL when I was a kid. I was like, I want that Cobra so bad. So I finally found one on eBay in good condition. And I haven't installed it. I've got the bumper mount for the antenna. I just haven't installed the actual CB yet. It's on my list of things to do. And so, yeah, I call myself the Bayou Bangle. If you ever perusing around on the CB and you hear guys going, "This is the Bayou Bangle from Mandeville," you know, that's me. The one and only Bayou Bangle. You got me. You're more likely to hear me on ham radio or see me on ham radio, at least on FT8, things like that. Shout out time. So let's start with our friend Neil Wolfish in Ontario, Canada. Lucked into KRDU in California on 11:30 at local sunrise back in September. I think only the 11th station I've logged from California in Ontario. A couple of you guys hearing that little 5 kilowatt in there. All right. I'm going to, Hobby Man, I'm going to hold my commentary on iHeartRadio, because I'm not sure if my non-compete from when I used to work at Clear Channel, if that still applies or not, or if that's there's part of my non-compete that was like, if you leave, you can't talk bad about the company or whatever. So I'm just going to keep my mouth shut. And plus now they have the podcast up. So I have, a necessary evil there, I guess. He also did have a clip here, by the way. Here's Neil's clip of KRDU. I mean, that was a clear ID. That was a very clear ID. Well done, Danuba. I didn't say because I didn't know if I was doing it wrong or not. So there you go. Our friend, let's see. Next up on the list here. By the way, well done. Well done, Neil. On the new one from Cali. I want to get more from Cali. That's a goal for me. Tim Trump up in Michigan. This guy, I mention this every year whenever he checks in, but Tim Trump, let me tell you about Tim Trump. I am of the belief that the further north you go, the more DX you get. I think that these are electromagnetic waves, and I don't have any scientific basis for this. I'm probably talking out of my rear end, but indulge me for a second. these are electromagnetic waves, which means electricity and magnetism, right? And the further north you go, what are you getting closer to? The magnetic pole. So I think, and you got these guys up in Scandinavia and stuff that hear everything. I just feel like everything's kind of converging up to that spot up there. Everything's kind of getting sucked up to that spot. Well, I also think that Tim Trump has a magnet, a very large DX magnet over his location, because this guy, it's called a DCAS, by the way. That magnet's called a DCAS because he's got the goods on the antenna here. He's got multiple DCAS antennas, so these double CASs. That's the secret to the DX magnet success, is how great these things are. Well, let me give you a little evidence of what I'm talking about. It says, my medium wave DX season always kicks off in August because the month can offer up some great trans-equatorial DX capabilities and opportunities leading up to the fall equinox in September. August was no exception, with the first-time reception of 1503 3KND, a 5 kilowatt station in Melbourne, Victoria. Australia. Yeah, that's what that is, Australia. 3KND was logged on August 27th at 10:52 UTC at a distance of 9,752 miles from West Michigan, using a Perseus SDR and a 140-foot-long DCAS. There's that magnet. Aimed at 270 degrees Australia. That's his 31st station from the nation of Australia. 31 stations. I don't have 31 stations from Colombia. And I'm always trying to get Colombia in the logbook, right? I've got like 20 something, but he has more stations from Australia, 9,000 some odd, 10,000 some odd miles away, than I do from Colombia, which is like 2,000 miles away. And I'm constantly looking for them. You see what I'm saying? This guy has the magnet, the DX magnet. If you've been looking for, if you feel like you lost your DX magnet, it's because Tim took it and he's got it. He's combining all of our DX magnets and making like the ultra magneto. He also says 2 audio clips are attached. There's any interest in playing them? Yes. Actual reception from Michigan versus the local Melbourne Kiwi SDR aligned to the same time of live reception. It often takes advanced techniques like this to positively ID such a distant station where an opening, and he puts that in quotes, and I agree, may last only a few seconds. So we're going to play some of these here. So this first one says... is this the... I'm not sure which one, if this is the Kiwi or his clip. We're going to start with the first one, though. That's the Kiwi. So this is the Melbourne Kiwi here. Now, that's one of the great things about this. I'm going to turn this down so we don't get that copyright strike here. That's one of the great things about this is you hear stuff like this. I use this in Latin American DX all the time. High-pitched, high treble, high frequency instruments like that, like flutes and strings and accordions and anything that's got really high register frequencies. Man, are they good for lining up with the live stream. I do this all the time with Latin American DX. The more bassy and down low it is, not as good. Okay, so that's what we're going to be listening for here on the second clip. Is we had that string music or that flute music, and now that nice little ID there. Let's see what we had. You see? That flute sticks out. I mean, that's indisputable. That's what he heard. And he's right. These openings can last just a brief few moments. It can be a burst. And then the second that sun comes up anywhere near where you are, it's cooked. It's done. So it takes a lot of diligence. It takes a lot of early morning work, all of which I just haven't done yet. But I'm going to one day because I'm convinced one of these days I may have a shot at something across the Pacific. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Kaz, the OG here, Kaz, mentions he has about the same number of Aussies up there as well. This is the original holder of the magnet. Neil Kazaros, the original magnet bearer, by the way. So we're going to, I don't know how to, the log seems insufficient here, but we're going to do the log, I guess. There you go, Tim. There you go. It just sawing a log seems insufficient for a catch like that. That's awesome. Jeff, notorious BOG, Jeff Immel in Fishers, Indiana. I wanted to give a big thank you to the entire Medium Wave DX Slack channel community and everyone who participates there. I've really appreciated all the DX tips, intent experiments, software discussions, and equipment posts that have been keeping things lively and informative. It's been great staying connected with everyone throughout the summer. Y'all make the hobby even more enjoyable. Grateful to be part of such a passionate and helpful group. My man. Yes. It's a great watering hole, gathering place. I mixed those up there, didn't I? It's a great gathering place for us all to gather and talk shop and talk about what we're hearing and talk about tips and tricks and antenna stuff and gear. And Jeff's always sharing his stuff he's got from his that WaveView DX program that I'm just drooling over and thinking I might have to switch and try that out. I've been a Jaguar guy for 5 years now, but I think it might be time for me to try out this new this WaveView DX and see if it is really all that I hoped that it would be. So yeah, absolutely kudos and I concur, my friend. We're gonna give you the point of victory for that one. Next up on the list, we have David Pete up in Maine. I know I saw, speaking of the Slack channel, I saw some of the stuff that you've been catching, David, so I know it's coming. I'm getting the bowl ready here. The Medium Wave season has started here better than I could have imagined, especially in the last 2 weeks. I installed a third new bog antenna that points southwest down the East Coast and beyond which is responsible for most of these loggings. The good time started a couple weeks ago with some good openings to Europe that netted me 3 new logs from Spain, RNE5 outlets on 684, 729, and 747. The new bog paid immediate dividends with 7 new stations from Florida, 5 new from Colombia, 1 Puerto Rican, and WGNO 690 in New Orleans, new station from Louisiana. And after a tip from Sean back in the Slack channel, also managed to get a new country with 600 Radio La Nueva Radio Ya in Managua, Nicaragua. That's country number 28 for our friend David up in Maine. On the West Bog, 2 days ago, after a tip from Jeff in the Slack, man, see, the Slack keeps paying the dividends. I was able to log 1070 KNX LA, California, and 1160 KSL Salt Lake, Utah for state number 44. So we've got a couple of things we've got to do for our friend here. We've got to do some state stuff. Got to fire off some fireworks. And we have a new country, so we're going to passport stamp in here a little bit. Brother Spock, thank you. Brother Spock says he modified his MFJ 1026 using our video as a guide a few weeks ago. Works great, so it's better for AM, man. If you are looking for a nice entry-level phaser or getting in your hands dirty on some phasing in the AM bands, a modified MFJ 1026, we got the video here on the YouTube channel, is a great way to do it. I love mine. I don't have it in place right now because I don't know where to put it. A little crammed in this little shack that I'm in. You'd be surprised. It's 6 feet wide by 7 feet. It looks big in the screen right here, I've been told, but it's a tiny little. It's a Harry Potter had more room under the stairs. That's than I've got in this room, but it does the trick. But no, that's a great thing to do. The MFJ 1026. So we've got this passport stamped for David. We've got the fireworks. We now have to give him a dosage of Zek Gumbo. And you got some stuff from Latin America, so we got to do that too. We got to hit the Latin American station. Yeah. Nicaragua. Again, one of my favorite stations in Latin America on the AM band is La Nueva Radio. Yeah. They like the little laser sweepers and stuff. It's a great station. And of course, we got to saw some logs here. For all those new logs that you got, my friend. Well done, David. And yeah, KNX from Maine. My goodness, I used to remember. I would sit there when I was living in Charleston, and I got KTNN one time out of Window Rock, right? And I was like, how the hell am I going to get KSL or KNX or KFI? I spent hours searching for those, and never did come across them while I was there. And then I get here, obviously, and it's much easier from this part of the country, but LA to Maine, that's not just the straight distance to California. That's also that diagonal distance across the country down south, right? So that makes it even further. That's a very impressive catch. You know, if you're like, for me, if you're hearing LA from down here, I'm in the south. I'm close to that latitude line, right? So it's easier for me. But the further north you go, where I am, it becomes harder and harder and harder to get to that same kind of like diagonally across the country. So super awesome catch, man. Well done. We got a couple more shout outs we're going to do here. Charles Williams in San Diego. My wife was just there this week. Heard WLS for the first time in years with an RSP DX and a U-loop. Didn't do anything special. It was just there. And sometimes the ionosphere, it just does it for us, doesn't it? It just serves it up. We don't have to do any work. We just flip our radio on and, oh my God, there they are. That's exactly, thank you. That's exactly how I got KNWN from Seattle here in Mandeville. I didn't do anything special. Everybody else had been hearing them because they'd had some transmitter issues and they were doing kind of more non-directional stuff. So everyone else had been hearing them, and I'd gone and looked and begged, and nothing ever happened because I had Mexico, I had Oklahoma City, I had Chicago. I was like, there's no way I'm getting through those three. And then one day I was like, what the hell? So I flipped on to 1,000 kilohertz. And there were two stations, and one of them was Oklahoma, I'm pretty sure. And the other one was doing like ads and stuff. And I was like, well, that's probably a network ad for WMVP or whatever. Oh, well. And I'm kind of sitting there doing something else. And all of a sudden I heard Northwest traffic. And I was like, wait. I flipped up to a Kiwi up in Seattle. And sure enough, the dominant station I was hearing loud on that frequency was Seattle, Washington, a state that I never, ever thought I would be able to capture. I didn't think it was in the cards. And the ionosphere giveth. There you go, Lloyd. Here's Washington. And then right after that, I heard Vancouver. KWX, the 1130, the one that Sean heard earlier. There they were. Didn't think I'd ever hear that. So sometimes the ionosphere just happens to give you what you need. And sometimes you have to work for it. So sometimes it's about being in the right place at the right time. And that's been the secret of my success more often than I care to admit. It's just luck. Just absolute luck. Kaz, speaking of our friend Kaz, got several of his antennas that he designed in the yard here. I'm a big believer in these antennas. They are the magnet. For real. The DCASs and the CASs, they are the magnet. In all seriousness, they are tremendous antennas. Best AM antenna I've ever used is a CAS and or double the DCAS. Just phenomenal. I've got several videos here on the YouTube channel where I talk about the design and how to put them up. Watch them, learn, do it if you have the room. I started out on one that was 12 feet high by 48 feet long, and I heard that first night, that first couple months or so, I heard Peru, I heard Ecuador. From Charleston, South Carolina, I heard Peru, I heard Ecuador, I heard Rhode Island, I heard Vermont. I mean, I was blown away. And then I was like, well, if I can do all this with a 48 footer, let me go 70 feet. And then it was all over for me at that point. This week at Sunrise, 2 new ones. KLAD 960 from Oregon, the Basin sports leader. And 1360 WKRKK Wyoming with ID. With their semi-local for Kaz there, WLBK behaving for once. So a couple new logs for our friend Kaz. Well done, man. Blazer Bob says, what's the first set of frequencies for the first medium wave challenge? We are the graveyards, man. 1230, 1240, 1340, 1400, 1450, 1490. We're going to be DXing those here shortly. We'll be getting to those here in just a few moments once we get this last shout out in. Well done, Kaz. You continue to get stuff that inspires me, man. You really, really do. Actually, all of you guys do. When I see these catches, I'm like, oh, I want to go DX. And we're about to here in a few minutes. Our friend Stuart in the chat, Stuart W8SRC says, Lloyd, I've had a lot of fun in the summer of DX. Not only did we participate in the challenge using only portables in the car radio, get those bonus points, but had a great time experimenting with some new radios, taking DX-related vacations. Always fun. Always fun. I was actually talking to my wife about one here a couple days ago. I was like, man, I want to do the Tim Hall thing. I want to do the Tim Hall Nevada-Utah border with a big old beverage thing. I just want to try it. Meeting Chris Cadlick in person up in the Great Lakes, famous Great Lakes FMDXer, Tropo extraordinaire, very, very knowledgeable, and also spent some time overseas in Asia and was just amazing, his knowledge of Asian DX over there as well. Learning a lot about new FMDX technologies. I've accumulated way too many new stations across multiple bands to list here, so I've narrowed it down to my favorite catches. So this is just the good stuff, right? This is like when you're a kid and you had like baseball and football cards and you had all your stuff, but you have that album of like your favorites. That's what we got here. I've also attached a compilation I made of eSkip IDs I caught during the last season. So FM eSkip. Some of his favorite catches included Ultra 90.1 KHRYS in Reynosa, Tamaulipas, Mexico. Mike, keep me honest, I got it right. I gotta hope. 1,394 miles as received from the top floor of his apartment building on May 24th. That's a new distance record for him. 107.9 WNCT in Greenville, North Carolina at 792 miles. Radio Amigo in Amarillo, Texas on 92.3, 1,047 miles. Jack 94.5 CKCK in Regina, Saskatchewan. Regina, experience Regina. 1,137 miles from the car radio near Dexter, Michigan. Go look that up on YouTube. Look up the Regina promotional video. Regina. 90.7 WWOZ in New Orleans, Louisiana. 921 miles. Came in like a local from my apartment on June 17th. My man, that is my favorite station. Them and 1230 WBOK here in New Orleans, but 90.7 and 1230, my favorite stations in New Orleans market. And I'm love them. 89.1 KGOH in Colby, Kansas, 841 miles. From Tropo, 104.5 The Cat, WLKT in Lexington, Kentucky, 292 miles. Country 104 CKDK on 103.9 Woodstock, Ontario, 292 miles. Again, these are all Tropo. 99.5 WPKR in Umro, Wisconsin. Full RDS over top of a local, 270 miles. 101.3 KISS FM KUUL in East Moline, Illinois, 243 miles. CBC Radio 1, 98.7 CB. No, CB. In Owen Sound, Ontario, full RDS, 262 miles. Star 104, 103.7 WRTS in Erie, Pennsylvania. I've heard them here. 202 miles from my auto logger in Dexter. On the NOAA Weather Radio side of things, WWG 49 on .5 in Frederickstown, Maryland at 478 miles. That's a new distance record for him. WWG 78 on the .5, Williamsburg, Kentucky, 388 miles. WXJ 76.55 in Champaign, Illinois. There you go. Sean's backyard there at 280 miles. WNG 541 on the .525 in Frewsburg, New York, 239 miles. KZZ35 on the .5, Escanaba, Michigan, 285 miles. And WWG 90 on the .425, Janesville, Wisconsin, for 262 miles. You got some ham radio repeaters here. KB4 PTJ on 444.05 for 383 miles out of Kentucky. 93 FCK 441.15 in Forkston, PA, 403 miles. VA3 PWR, Newmarket, Ontario. Nice. 249 miles on 443.275. KF8 BRW 146.7. Cooks, Michigan, 276 miles. And W9 DUP 442.55 in Downers Grove, Illinois, 215 miles. Some new gear over the course of the summer. Purchased 2 TEF portables, 6686 and some 6687 portables. A non-touchscreen DP666 to use with my Stellar Labs Omni as an auto logger, thanks to me. Yeah, hey, good job, man. And the AirSpy HF Plus Discovery SDR to use with the Turk Tower antenna in my apartment. This week's shout-outs. AM, I've been enjoying getting into AM over the last few weeks with my DX286 and the CC Radio 2E, adding tons of new stations and smashing distance records to smithereens. Here's my favorite catches. 940 XEQ, 1060 XECPAE, one of my favorite stations in Mexico, 1220 XEB, all Mexico City, 1,819 miles for new distance record. 670 Radio Rebelde down in Cuba, 1,300 miles. 1210 KOKK here on South Dakota. Is it KOKK still, or are they now KIKK? I've been seeing that. Here on South Dakota, 870 watts at 740 miles. Bison, KQWB. We've got that clip, right? When I first heard them, West Fargo, North Dakota, 721 miles. New FM stations this week. 88.1 WVPE in Elkhart, Indiana, 134 miles. Smile FM in Toledo, Ohio, 160 miles. And WRSW in Warsaw, Indiana, 129 miles, 107.3. Hit many goals this summer, including breaking multiple distance records, getting top of band MUF during E-Skip season. Nice. And meeting a DXer in person. My current goals include trying the West Coast on AM. We've got some good leads for you. Breaking 500-mile Tropo on FM and weather. And learning how to use RDS after recording an IQ file on GQRX during the next E-Skip opening. My man, we've got all kinds of stuff to get you in here for. So Sean's had himself, usually when it's someone having this much success, it's usually Sean. So Stuart, we've got some stuff in here for you. Starting with a new U.S. state. New country. We're going to stamp as a passport. Guys, you know what time it is. Remove your hats. Stand at attention with your hand on your heart. Those are Canada gooses. Those are Canada's gooses. You got a problem with those? You got a problem with me? I suggest you let it marinate. We got to throw on some gumbo here for Stuart as well. Charles, you are correct. That's why whenever we do it, I always make it's letting the moose loose, right? We gotta cut the cheese for him too. Yeah. There's going to be folks listening to this podcast who are not experienced with DX Central Live. They're just new to the podcast. Guys, I implore you, at least once, come join us on Friday nights for the live stream so you can see these fun little celebrations that we do in person, because they are a lot of fun. He got a new goal, so we're going to do the goal in here. And yeah, he achieved a milestone. So the distance record's broken. He pushed his boundaries of his knowledge. He got some new gear. He learned some new skills. I want to celebrate that, because that's, let me tell you what, that is what separates what you've done in the past and the logs that you've gotten from the logs that you're going to get now, right? So when you push yourself and you break out of that comfort zone, like for me, it was always, well, I like DXing, but I don't know how to do all like the soldering and like putting together gear and like creating stuff and DIYing the stuff. And then I forced myself to learn how to build a CAS antenna, how to make my own variable resistor, how to wind my own transformer, how to do all this stuff on my own. And once I did, my DX went to completely new levels. So I always want to make sure that we take time to celebrate those DXers that are pushing themselves beyond what they already know, learning those new skills, learning those new things that are out there that might be commonplace for some of you who have been doing it for a very long time. But for those who are learning those skills and adopting those new things into their DX world, man, it's stratospheric, the difference that it makes. And so kudos, man. Well done, Stuart. Well done. I appreciate you sharing those with us. So thank you. All right. I'm going to be doing my shout outs for our DX catches because we got it. Guys, this FM season was spectacular here. It's the best FM season I've ever had. Ever. In 30 plus years of DX, this was my best FM DX season ever. So maybe I am a little biased about 2025. The data says, though, it was a spectacular year for a lot of folks, too. So let me make sure I'm getting to all my topics I want to talk about tonight. We talked about the podcast, because we're going to do some DX, and then I'm going to get to my shout-outs. I don't want to miss anything here. So we're about to do some more DX on the graveyard. We're going to talk about the podcast. Make sure you go to fromthestatic.net or anywhere that you get podcasts and follow, subscribe, whatever you need to do to make sure you get new episodes coming in. This live stream will be on there this weekend. We talked about the AMDX season so far. I didn't talk about my logs that I gotten, but I can say that for when I do my shout outs. The Summer of DX Challenge, we talked about that with Greg Caniglio as our score winner. Again, I got a little cleanup I need to do to kind of round out some of the other stats in there, like countries and states and all that kind of stuff, and remove some duplicates and stuff. But the scores are pretty clear. Greg was our winner. He's been the leader almost out of the barn, right? And we've done all of our shout outs. We've announced our medium wave frequency challenge. So those are the main things I wanted to get to tonight. So tonight, for the rest of the night, we're going to DX, and then we'll talk about some of the stuff that we had here in Mandeville for our catches. Let's do one more quick break, so we can get all of our ad fulfillments in. And when we come back, we are going to be talking about DX and what we caught this year. I'm telling you, this FM season was remarkable. So I really want to hype that up and talk a bit about that here in this next hour. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this.
DX Central, because we're all about radio. Visit us at dxcentralonline.com or check us out on YouTube. Search DX Central. Keep up with DX Central. Follow us on Twitter at DX Central. from the DX Central North Shore Studios, this is DXC Live. Now here's your host, Lloyd Van Horn.
It's DX Central Live from the North Shore Studios here in Mandeville, Louisiana. We are here in Studio A, and we are we're enjoying some live DX tonight, talking about the summer of DX that we all had together. AM, FM, how great it was. Stuart with his stuff on weather DX. You know, we had a couple openings here. We had one that I know of, that the MUF of the E-Skip opening actually pushed into the 2-meter band. And it was June 17th. June 17th was the day. And I actually was sitting here. I had just recently set up my 2-meter ICOM Mark 2G with the 2-meter Yagi up in the air. The 7 element on the suggestion of our friend Sean Kutsko pointed out a great option for me. And so we just got all that set up, and I was running an FT8, and I saw the MUF was going up. People were getting 2 meters, and I flipped it over, and there was Illinois 2-meter FT8 from Louisiana. And I called him, and I didn't hear anything back. And then he called me, and we couldn't make it the contact work. It was too kind of But I saw Illinois here in Louisiana on 2 meters this year on June 17th. I experienced 2-meter E-Skip. I'd never experienced that. 30 odd years, I'd never experienced it. So that was nice. I know a lot of you guys had July 4th as your big day. My big day was August 13th this year. That day was one of the most fun because it just felt like it was coming from all directions. I didn't know where to focus. I was running outside and I was turning my antenna because I don't have a rotor on it yet. And I'd come back inside and be like, oh my goodness, what's going on? Turn out the antenna again. I just kept bouncing back and forth. And I was trying to do my day job. It was a day. But I've got like 3 hours of recordings to go through to finish up on that thing. So it's going to be a bit. We're going to get to all the stuff that we caught this year. We had 4 new countries on FM this year. 4 new countries heard on FM this year. We had a new Canadian province this year and a bunch of other stuff. So we're going to talk a bit about our FM season and the few that we have some new AM stuff, including a new country on AM too. And so we'll be getting to those here after the top of the hour. So if you want to hear what we caught this summer, stick around because we'll be doing that here after the top of the hour. But I want to DX and I want to do something a little bit different. We're going to continue on the graveyard here, but I don't think I've ever actually done this. I'm going to graveyard DX on our Latin American machine. The big Kiwi Kaz with the 25x72 pointing down towards South America. I don't think I've ever done any graveyard DX on this antenna. So let's see what we get. This DX session is brought to you by, it's not FM, but this DX session is brought to you by the Spectrum Monitor, thespectrummonitor.com. Ignore the FM thing. We're doing AM. Thespectrummonitor.com. And get yourself a copy of the magazine. We just had our article. We do every couple months, we do an article in the Spectrum Monitor. I do. And the most recent was about using AI. Oh, I didn't even get to talk about that. We'll do that next week. We'll do it next week. We'll talk about AI next week in your DX because, guys, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable what you can do with AI. I used AI to help me ID stations this year. It's remarkable. We'll talk about that next week. That'll be our main topic for next week. Okay. 1490. We're on the Kiwi Kaz here. 25x72. Let's see what we hear. Let's back that AGC threshold down a little bit. Oh, and David, thank you for the kind words, my friend. That means a lot to me because I always want to keep this. I want to do the live DX and I want to keep it entertaining and fun, but I also want to keep it informative. Hold on, please. I think that's new. pretty sure that's a new one. Hold on. Well, maybe not. Oh, that's not new. That's KPLT in Paris, the legend. That's not new. I thought it was. For a second, I was like, no. But David, thank you. I've always wanted to keep this to be informative and entertaining at the same time. And so hopefully it sounds like we're hitting that mark, at least for you, and I appreciate the kind words. Mexico Mike, yeah. I'm trying to learn, man. I'm trying to learn both the hearing of and translating and the ability to speak it. I want to be able to do both. So I'm trying to learn Duolingo and just my immersion into listening to Latin American stations. I think Apple Podcasts may do a transcript as well, David. I think. Maybe. Hey, Reginald, thank you, man. We love it too. That's why we're here, because we're all about radio. And it's top of the hour time frame.
DX Central Live, top of the hour alert.
Fire up those sirens. Where has Bill been? I miss seeing Bill around here. We're hitting the graveyard frequencies right now. We're on 1490. We're looking south. Charles just got his Perseus. Just arrived in. Get it from HRO? Where I got mine. Love that radio. Love that Perseus. I know it's, what, approaching 20 years old at this point? Still so good. Still such a good radio. Yeah, get him while you can. It was to be HOC in Philadelphia, Mississippi. We had an ID from just now. One of my most hated stations that I just... Sorry to the folks in Philadelphia, but that station just drives me crazy. They're always around. HOC is like a thorn in my side. They're always there. No matter what antenna I use. David, I have wrestled with that for 5 years. I have wrestled, since the Discovery came out. I have wrestled with that very question. And yeah, Hobby Man, that's probably to be HOC, I believe. Echo-y there because we have multiple CBS radio stations. CBS News. My justification, David, is that the Perseus is the only radio that I could use with Jaguar. But now with WaveView DX, I don't know if that's... I don't know that that's a factor anymore. I don't know. I got to try WaveView DX and see how it compares to Jaguar, but Jaguar is still the gold standard until it's usurped. At least for AMDX. Go to 1450 and see what we got. I got to resolve a connection issue on my Perseus. Because I do miss that recording feature. That's still the thing about Jaguar that nobody has gotten. Even WaveView doesn't have it. It's the SDR recording or the DVR recording function. Having that always running so you never miss anything. Oh, I wish everyone would do it. I've tried, I've pleaded, I've begged. No one understands what I'm asking. With an RSP DX, we'll talk about that here in a second. Are you talking for AM or FM? Brother Spock still listening on a Collins 388, my man. We got a Drake SPR4 up in the attic. Yeah, Barry, it's the bomb. I got a Halicrafters S120 sitting over here behind me. For AM, David, I like what Charles says there. I think that's a pretty solid plan. Because that way, hold up. I feel like I've got a Spanish station in there. I hear a country station. I hear the Chapel Roan. I feel like I'm hearing a Spanish station in there too. Yeah, that S120 was my dad's first radio, and I got it for him 1 year for Christmas. That was a good year. Where in the States is Locust Grove, Reginald? I used to live up just across the border from North Georgia. Well, I'm asking. I don't remember hearing Locust Grove. All right, I'll keep chasing this one. I feel like I'm hearing a Spanish station in there on 1450. And I say that because... Was this one? Yeah. I have Radio Maya Bikay out of Cuba on 1450 here. Previously heard. So I was trying to see if maybe I might have had an international one. So, don't know. All right. So to answer your question, Charles, I've given us a little thought here while we were doing some DX. Let me go ahead and go full screen here and cut the alerts. I would say, well, Charles said a recording in Uno and going over to console is a pretty solid plan. Whether you do, if you do that, or if you go and record an SDR Connect, I would probably say SDR Connect's probably better for live DX. I wouldn't record in it necessarily, because I don't think those SDR Connect files are openable in console. And both Uno and Connect are not great for reviewing recordings from our standpoint. They're fine for like shortwave ham radio people, like all those other, but for AM DXers, it's not super great for reviewing recordings. We have a much better interface with SDR console. But the thing about the RSP DX is it has the HDR, the high dynamic range mode, specifically for like AM and long wave, right? So it really kind of reduces any out of band intermod or any kind of interference that might be coming in from if you have a lot of local FM high powered stations, which I do here in the area. So I usually have to make sure that I'm using the HDR. Now, you can enable HDR mode in SDR console if you have the SDR Play API up and running. If you have that API up and running, you can enable the HDR mode in console. Is it as good as the HDR mode directly in Uno or Connect? I'm back and forth on that one. Sometimes I think it works fine. Other times I'm like, it's not doing what I feel like it should be doing. And it's not as robust, I feel like, sometimes when I'm DXing. But that high dynamic range gives you much better signal to noise ratio. It gives you much better adjacent or out of band noise reduction and interference reduction. So it is, especially if you're in an area that has a lot of stuff, a lot of transmitters, it's super, super helpful. If you're out in the middle of nowhere, it's not as helpful. But especially if you're in an area that has a lot of AM or FM broadcasters, that high dynamic range mode, the HDR mode, will help. Do the same thing. Spy though. So just something to kind of think about there. AirSpy has that HDR kind of built in. You don't have to engage anything special on it. You just use it. And I will say this, SDR Sharp's recording review interface, I used to hate it. I was like, I'm not doing that. I've actually grown to like it quite a bit. It's actually really, really good. So, and Jerry says WaveView DX will handle both SDR console and SDR Sharp recordings. That's good to know. I got to get on that one. The thing that's the crux for me, and what keeps bringing me back to Jaguar and SDR, well, mostly Jaguar. I still use SDR Sharp, and you can see I've been using the Kiwi too. But the Jaguar is that constant recording loop, that 8-minute recording loop. It's always recording, and then at the end of the 8 minutes, it overwrites itself and does it again, and then it keeps doing it. That way, if you're sitting there and you're DXing, you're like, wait, what did he say? You can rewind it live. You can rewind it live while it's still recording. You can rewind it live and go back and say, what did he say? Oh, he said KLTP. Okay, great. And, that's one I've already got or whatever. So it's a feature that I have not found in any other SDR program that everybody should have. There's no reason that I don't care if you DX military communications, shortwave radio, ham radio, AM DX, FM, non-directional beacons, no other. I don't care what you DX. There's always going to be that thing that catches you off guard and by surprise, and you just didn't happen to be recording at the time. Jaguar solves for that. Wish everyone. All right, let's talk about what we got this year, because it's pretty remarkable. I'm going to start with, really quick, let's start with our AM side of things. Because it's a much shorter list. Because we really haven't done a lot of AMDX this year. Since really March. I haven't really had a lot of time. But we did some in August, and I mentioned there's a Kiwi SDR in Costa Rica. And I hesitate to mention it because I'm afraid now it's going to be hard to get on, like the Bonaire Kiwi is sometimes. It's like, oh, I can't get on. Everybody's on this one. So I hesitate to mention it, but it is such a good Kiwi, or it has been in the past. So if you go to the Kiwi map here, you'll see it down here. This is the TI 0. Can't remember the call sign. TI 0 something. Radio Costa Rica Kiwi. So let's try it out here. So yeah, see, when they first put it on back in August, the antenna that they had on here was much better for AMDX. You can see now it's pretty rough. It's pretty rough on the AMDX side. I mean, there's like 3 signals. They're all local. But when this first came up, it had a great antenna for AMDX for some reason. And I was logging stuff like crazy. In fact, I was so good, I set up a medium wave list location from San Jose just so I could log all the stuff that I was catching. And check this out. I am not kidding to you. This is what I actually did. So if you see like a Lloyd on medium wave, if you see a medium wave list, if you see Lloyd San Jose, this is why. Because they had a power surge that took out their Kiwi. So they got a replacement. And since they got the replacement, this one is not, you heard what it sounded like. It's not doing as great. But I will show you this. This is all the stations that I logged on this Costa Rican Kiwi before it went out. I mean, look at that. That's spectacular. And then we have the list down here. I mean, we had Ecuador. Radio Monumental was so loud. It was so loud. Melodia Stereo in Bogota. I didn't even get a chance to record any of this stuff before it went away. La Nueva Radio Ya in Managua. And I was able, the reason I'm bringing this up is I was able to use this to help me get some stations in my logbook that I didn't have before. So those stations include now, let's see, YNRM on 1440 out of Managua. So a station out of Nicaragua on 1440. Got them thanks to the Costa Rican Kiwi. 650 Radio Católica de Olancho out of Honduras. Got them thanks with their Spanish Catholic prayers underneath Progreso. Thanks to the Costa Rican Kiwi. HJ, is that J? JCU. Spanish instrumental music under XEX and Progreso. Thanks to the Costa Rican Kiwi, I was able to parallel, and I actually heard the Melodia Stereo ID, but I was able to parallel the music to that one, and so they were under Progresso and a very powerful station out of Mexico City, and I was able to log. But the big one was on 910 TIQM, San Jose, Costa Rica. Very distinct, high-pitched female Spanish religious singer that, while super weak on the Mandeville's shortwave central Kiwi, was enough to be able to parallel to the Costa Rican Kiwi. That was a new country. So I'm going to have to email them, Jacob. I'm going to have to reach back out. I emailed them before, right? I'm going to have to email them again and say, did y'all do that? Because, Al, you killed the band, man. You made the band go away. Not fun. So that was the AM side of things. So a new country and several new Latin American stations in there. Now let's look at FM, because this is where the good stuff is. And for this one, I don't even know how I'd want to kind of go about this, because there was just so much. So we had a total. I'm just going to pull up my 2025 analysis stuff here and use this as a basis. So we've done just shy of about 800, 900 stations logged, not unique, but stations logged on eSkip this summer from May 1st to August 31st, right around 900 stations or so, 800, 900 stations, with more to come when I finish fleshing out those two last recordings. But July 9th, we had an opening into Honduras. That was a big one. That was a new country. And I think there may have been some Nicaragua or something else in there. I'm still going through that recording as well, but it's kind of on the back burner right now until I get the August 13th one done. But I think there may have been maybe one other country in there. I just got to double check. August 13th, I'm convinced, had some Cubans and some Dominican Republic in there. And that's why I'm really focusing on that one, because that'd be another new country. So I'm really spending some time on that one. But so far, it's just Cayman Islands and a bunch of Florida, Key West and stuff like that. But I'm pretty sure there's Dominican Republic or Cuba in there as well. I'm just got to find them. But the big one for me, as far as international stuff, was May 31st. Now, you guys know me. I'm a Latin American guy, right? That's my thing. I was able to get Jamaica. I was able to get Cuba finally on FM. That was a goal for me this year. I was like, come hell or high water, Cuba will be in my logbook, and here they are. And I also had Cayman, Jamaica, and Cuba on that opening on May 31st. So that put me, with that in Honduras, that put me at 7 countries heard now on FM. Because I had 3 before. I had US, Canada, and Mexico, as you would normally find. And now we're sitting at 8 countries heard, with 4 of those being new this season. I'm sorry, 7, not 8, 7 countries heard, with 4 of those being new this season. 1,635 stations logged. 1,600 stations. Now, when I started this season, let me take this back. When I started the eSkip season, and we did have a little opening in April, but when I started out May 5th, I was getting some Tropo, and then we had some eSkip right after that. I was sitting at 1,211 stations heard. So over 400 new ones this year. Mostly eSkip. I haven't dialed up everything because I'm still adding to those totals, but mostly eSkip, over 400 new ones this year. Just unbelievable season. We did finally get Winnipeg, Manitoba for my first non-Quebec, non-Ontario Canadian. So, You know, Jacob, I would even be willing to buy for them one of those antenna switches and then join their club, their ham radio club, just for the privilege of having the password for that antenna switch so that I could switch to a non-ham antenna. Put up an AMDX antenna. Give me the password so I can switch to it. I'll pay you to be in your club and annual dues, and I will buy you the switch. Just make it available. That is the perfect location for a Kiwi. I've long said, why are we not going to have anybody in South and Central America put up a Kiwi? Well, they finally did, and it was great. Sucks. Anyway, the moose is loose because Manitoba was finally heard here. We didn't hear any new states this year on FM. We're sitting right around 40 states still. I'm still looking for Utah. I'm still looking for Idaho and Montana and Oregon and California, Nevada. So I'm still looking all this stuff out west, and we're still looking for. We did get a new state this year. I just remembered. We got New Hampshire. Forgot. That's how good this season was. I forgot about a new state. We got New Hampshire. We had one of our openings. I don't remember which opening it was. I'd have to go back and look at the logbook, but there was an opening to the Northeast, and I had New Hampshire Public Radio. That was all of my stuff is falling. Oh, that was a new state. I had not heard them. New Hampshire. I don't think ever on FM. I don't think I ever heard New Hampshire when I was living in Charleston. I had Vermont. I had Maine. I had Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut. I didn't ever get New Hampshire. And so now finally I have New Hampshire on FM. So that puts us, what was our total on that now? Where's my numbers? We are at 40 states, including DC. So 39 states plus DC. So that means we have 11 states left. So that would be California, Oregon, Washington, Montana, Idaho, Utah, and then Vermont, Maine. That's the 8. And then 9, 10. So I'm missing one. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But yeah, New Hampshire finally heard. Finally got Cuba in the logbook. Jamaica, Cayman Islands, Honduras, and I think there may be something else on one of those recordings, but 400 new ones this year, almost 900 total stations. So it was an incredible e-skip season. And it's still ongoing for me as I review these recordings and work through August 13th and June 17th. So who knows where we may land when this is all said and done. So, yeah, there you go. That's going to do it for tonight. I think we have, we've gotten everything ready to go here for the Graveyard Challenge. You guys are set up and ready to roll. We've got a couple stations we can go ahead and put in and submit for ourselves. 1230, 1240, 1340, 1400, 1450, 1490. That's the Graveyard channels. Those are the Graveyard channels we're going to be focusing for the next 3 weeks. So don't try to swallow this burger all at once. Take and put it into consumable bites. Do 2 frequencies a week. 2 frequencies a week. And if you have all 6 frequencies available to you, 2 frequencies a week. And by the end of this, you'll be done. You'll have the whole thing canvassed very, very thoroughly. So for our sponsors, the National Radio Club, nationalradioclub.org, the International Radio Club of America, ircaonline.org, and the Spectrum Monitor magazine, thespectrummonitor.com. Thank you to our sponsors for your support. Don't forget to check out our podcast at fromthestatic.net, and we're going to have more goodies coming up here for you guys here soon. So glad you're here for season 6. Take care, my friends. Best of DX 73. We'll see you next week right here on DX Central Live.
This has been the DX Central from the Static Podcast. If you are interested in sponsoring this podcast, let us know by emailing sponsors@fromthestatic.net. If you have a story to share for our Stories from the Static series, send those to our email address, stories@fromthestatic.net. Be sure to join us for our live DX live stream every Friday night at 2345 UTC, 1845 Central Time on our YouTube channel or at dxcentrallive.com.
The DX Central From the Static podcast is copyright 2025, Lloyd Van Horn, DX Central. All rights reserved. No portion of this podcast may be rebroadcast or reused without the express, written authorization of Lloyd Van Horn and DX Central. Be sure to follow or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, as new episodes will be posted regularly. Join us next time for the DX Central From the Static podcast.